The VR Club. Uh, the VR Club is doing great. We have like
Okay.
70
Oh,
members.
congratulations.
Yeah, unfortunately, our vice president is not here, and our current president is graduating in April.
Okay.
But
Congratulations.
and we had our first meeting yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and I got we had about 7 people show up,
Okay.
and which is pretty good first week of the semester
Mm-hmm.
for 7 people to show up.
Yeah.
And 3 females stepped up and volunteered to lead us on through next year.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. Unfortunately, our president couldn't be there, and the treasurer went to another school.
Okay.
But we still have our vice president, who is a sophomore, and so he's coming back next year. Plus, we have 3 ladies that want to step up into the VR Club,
Very nice.
which I think is kind of cool to have a female-led VR club.
Okay.
That's awesome. So we shall see.
Yeah.
We still have polls out to see if any other members are interested.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm happy with the volunteers that we got yesterday.
So can anyone join the VR club?
Anyone can join the VR club. Any student can join the VR club. Faculty members, if you're willing to come, we meet right now we're meeting on Thursdays, and then we meet on Mondays, and then alternating on weeks so that people can have flexibility in their scheduling. So we meet from 3:30 to 5:30 on Thursdays, and then 2:30 to 4:30 on Mondays.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very nice.
alternating weeks.
All right.
You got my questions and you don't want to guess. I got a recommendations and that I can suggest. Yes, this library questions got a part of the quest. Here's Beryl and Laura with instruction request.
Hi, Ospreys. My name is Lauren Odom. I'm the instruction librarian.
And I'm Beryl White-Bing. I am the virtual learning librarian.
And we are
Instruction Requests.
where we talk about common research questions, helpful resources,
and innovative technology in the Thomas G. Carpenter Library.
All right. And so in this episode, we're going to do things a little differently because we were able to sit down with one of our fellow librarians, our STEM online learning librarian, Sarah Moukhliss, and she provided a lot of information about higher level research skills and strategies.
Right.
And so this episode will primarily consist of that conversation that we had with her.
Yes, but I do want to highlight 2 things very quickly before we get into Sarah's interview. Andy, we have the VR AR series in the Virtual Learning Center. This is we'll talk more about it in the next episode, but those weeks that are on that slide, we're going to have feature VR experiences that students can come and get some engage UNF credits for.
Okay.
So I'll have more information about that in the next episode. Plus, the research party is coming up on February 12th. So I didn't want to mention that.
Okay.
And that's it. Okay, Andy.
All right.
All right. Without further ado, Sarah Moukhliss is our STEM Online Learning Librarian. She also works with the instructional designers, and she is the liaison to nursing and nutrition, correct? And she works a lot with graduate level students and upper level students who are doing higher level research skills,
Yes.
or who need higher level research skills. So without further ado, Sarah.
Hi, Beryl. Hi, Lauren. How are you?
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for being our expert of the day. Oh, I won't say that, but our colleague of the day. Sarah
Thanks
has
for having me.
Yeah, Sarah has been inundated with a lot of requests, and she has been a leader in our quest to provide higher level research skills to our students. So we thought it would be very good to talk to Sarah today about using higher level research skills as you matriculate through UNF all the way to doctoral level. So, Lauren, you want to ask the first question?
Yes. So, Sarah, you've supported so many students and faculty with high-level research projects over the years. What do you find most rewarding or maybe most challenging about working with people using these complex strategies?
I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm glad you're editing this. I want to make sure. Oh, okay. I just want to make sure you're going in order. I think that the most rewarding part of working with these type of students is the fact that it's a deeply personal research question. It's not just I have to do this question for an assignment. It usually holds deep meaning to a student doing the deeper research. I work with a lot of graduate students and doctoral students who might have a complex question that they're actually going to take back and actually improve the workforce or their profession or their office. So it's a different type of engagement. I feel like they really want to be there. They're really invested in the time, and they're often very excited about the research. So that's what I love about it. I also love the fact that it's always different. There's always a different question that is being asked. I found, though, that a challenge is when students hit brick walls. They take it very personally when they start doing this advanced research, and it doesn't end up being what they can do because they can't find enough either peer-reviewed literature or information, and they take it very personally. And I think sometimes think they failed. And I don't think it's a failure. I think it's just natural process of being a researcher, and it's just so new to the student. They perceive it as a failure. That can be a little bit emotionally draining when you go through the process with somebody that's upset or disappointed. But I always hope that they realize after talking in a consult that they're right on task and target, and this is just a natural process of being a researcher, and that whatever they end up with will be something that they can also be excited about. It might not just be the exact same question as they started with.
Thank you.
I agree. Let me ask you a question. When you're helping students or faculty with research strategies or steps, oh, let me scratch that. Let me go back and scratch that. Scratch that, Andy. We're going to scratch that part out. Okay, starting over. When you're helping students or faculty, which research strategies or steps tend to be the toughest, especially in health-related programs? Because I know you are the nursing liaison.
Yeah, and I've always started this position as nursing liaison, so I don't really know much difference, right? I mean, it just was I was hired and this was my section. But I think the toughest strategy is I learned and got the hang of helping students and learning from faculty on what they expect, and from just the students doing their research for projects and homework, is to sort of cement the idea that there's a lot of pre-planning before you actually start the research process. You can't always just jump right in. I always try to tell students you can use databases for different reasons. Right now, we're going to use the database just to plan our strategies. So I usually try to model with them that we're not going to just start research. Of course, it's really good just to browse and to make sure it's a viable topic, and that's something they should have been working with a professor all along with. But when you're really starting to set up a systematic search, spend a couple hours just pre-planning. So I usually walk them through, this is how I would collect all the keywords for every part of my question. And usually I might make a worksheet or find a worksheet. And then here's the next steps. We should really find all of our subject headings for our PICO questions. Even if we know we're not going to use it, or maybe it's not as important as another part of our PICO. And when I say PICO, I mean the acronym for Patient Intervention Comparison Outcome Time Question. That's often used in the nursing and health fields, right? That type of question. So just get really organized, make your charts, make your lists of subject headings for all of your databases that you're going to search. So PubMed might have a different set of subjects than CINAHL. And then have all your keywords set up, because you're just going to play detective and sort of experiment with how you search and what delivers the best search results. So it can be kind of maybe draining and tiring if you don't stay organized, but it's really easy to flip, your strategy around quickly if you already have all of your strategies charted out. So really, I really see mostly just the pre-planning stage with the students. And then most of the time, I probably won't see them again, but I just try to emphasize that, pre-planning does take a lot of work, but it will be worth it in the long run as you're really getting into the weeds of the research.
Yeah. Okay. So that actually leads us into my next question. You kind of answered it already, but I'll still ask. So when it comes to the PICO questions, and we do get that coming through our library chat, nutrition students and the nursing students are coming to us trying to figure out like which direction to go in. And since those come up often, what advice or techniques do you find helpful for students who are just starting to build a solid PICO question?
Yeah, when they're just in that beginning stages, sometimes it's hard to even start because it feels awkward sometimes phrasing a PICO question. So just getting those, maybe a very simple worksheet to fill out to try to force your research idea into that PICO format of a question. There's lots of worksheets available online through Google searches and other library guides. But also that's a good point where you are just exploring the literature. Who else is researching my topic? I could check maybe the UNF dissertation in Digital Commons and see if there's anything similar, just to get a sense of what's been researched locally, what it looks like when you're writing a paper and doing that type of research. Also just checking the dissertations database for ProQuest. And also that's a great time just to be in OneSearch and exploring the literature casually, right? And if you immediately see that there is a ton out there, that might be a conversation with your faculty, your professor, is what I'm doing already. If it's been answered, maybe I shouldn't be answering this question. Or if you're finding almost nothing, that's a concern too. It might be that it might be new and innovative and exciting, but if you don't have anything to start with, it might be another conversation with your professor about whether it's viable. So I often put all of that back on to talk to your professor. I don't have the expertise to really answer that. That's kind of a mystery to me too. But that's, I think, telling them to have an open communication with their faculty that they're working with. They're the experts. That's what's great about being a librarian, is we can set up and do the strategies. We don't necessarily have to have that answer. I always love saying that. Like, I might not know what you're researching, but I can set it up for you,
right.
To sort of go back with that. And because they are the subject matter expert really. And we're but yeah, great questions. But for those really new students, I always like to go back and look at what does it look like? What does the end product look like through just looking at local research or samples from the professor, and also just papers through OneSearch browsing.
Okay. Well, you know what? That was a great point you made about the fact that we often see them at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And if we teach them very well, they don't come back.
Yeah,
right.
We don't see them again.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them, I might never see them again, or I might see them a couple of years later if they're graduate students. Maybe they need supplemental materials or something, but it's not. I've had appointments where it's been weekly for some students, but most often it might be a one and done, or maybe it's 2 to 3 times, and then you kind of wonder, I wonder what happened to them. Like, wishing them well. I'm sure they're doing great, and they graduated and they're doing something great in their profession.
Our, this is our next question. Graduate students often ask about scoping or systematic reviews, and sometimes they do that along with PICO. You know,
Mhm.
they're really doing a scoping, but they say PICO or they use a PICO question or whatever, the PICO process for their scoping or systematic review. What are some effective ways to help them organize, refine, and stay focused throughout the process? You mentioned the worksheets, but go ahead,
Yeah.
I'll let you answer.
Well, actually, this is something I discovered more recently with a nutrition student writing a scoping review, because once again, I think it's great to be a librarian because you don't have to be the expert in everything. You're kind of learning with them and you have to, right? And that's how
Yeah.
I've done it and that's how we're all doing it. But when they're asking for something like that, like the big picture of like, how do I get started? There are frameworks that they should consider and talk to their faculty member about before they even start. So there's several out there that we could, just toss out there, but it probably would be something that a faculty member at UNF would suggest with the student, especially for scoping reviews. But there's different frameworks that actually sort of make sure that you walk through the process correctly, so you're not missing steps. So when I worked with one graduate student, I think she might have used the ARCSI and O'Malley framework. I hope I'm saying that correctly. But other frameworks, I had to do a quick Google, so I sounded like, okay, Sarah's has the answer. JBI, Joanna Briggs Institute, is another framework. So that might sound familiar. And you can, I think they're just available online. Like, the student actually handed me the framework and told me, I'm using this framework. So I actually reviewed it with her before we started the setup, and it made life a lot easier because I was like, oh, okay. It tells you exactly what you need to consider before you even get started, and framing your question and what limiters you're going to set and how you're going to filter out the materials and duplicates. It's pretty much will be probably mapped out in the framework. Another one is Prisma. So we probably have heard of that one too. So it's really nice to say, if somebody does come and ask that question, well, check with your professor about a framework. Like, let's make sure that we're honoring that pathway, and making sure that we're getting started the way your professor wants. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that. Oh yeah, there is part 2. I wrote notes. I'm getting old. I have to write my notes down to remember. Once you have your framework, then there's also librarian tools that are pretty much normal, right, for the process. So RefWorks, we have RefWorks. Some students might want the citation management tool Mendeley in the health fields, but no matter what they want, they should have a citation management tool in mind that they plan on learning to use. And we do have library guides on this too, to consider your options. But after, especially for I know with the scoping review, the student used it because scoping reviews seem a little bit more cumbersome than the systematic review, from my experience. But you're going to marry your citation management tool with more of like a systematic tool. And so there's a whole list on our nursing guide. I don't have experience with all of them, but the student that I worked with chose Rayon. So Rayon is also a tool you marry with the citation management tool. So the students will export what they find to RefWorks. And once they export that to RefWorks, then they'll export it to this tool, this other tool, and that will be helping with removing a lot of the duplicates, and also getting rid of redundant exports from the different databases, and kind of flagging things to say, hey, is this a duplicate? You have to manually, I think, say yes or no.
Yeah, I think RefWorks will get rid of the duplicates for you now.
Right, yeah. But for whatever reason, she also used the Rayon because I think it helped her to notate more directly why it met or failed the criteria of the process. So there is reasons for using it, and I've just watched a student use it, so I've learned with her. And she became the expert, but she liked Rayon because it was cheaper, and there was support, a 1-800 number you could call, like, to get.
Oh, well, that's good.
So that's why she used that. So yeah, in a nutshell, use your framework and take advantage of the tools at the library, such as RefWorks and whatever other tools you want to use on top of that if you need any extra.
Okay, those are good. These are things that we don't learn in library school, at least I didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't
No,
learn in library school. We learn them while we're working with students. Okay. Last question. Go ahead, Lauren.
So with that, what resources do you recommend, or maybe even ones that you might have developed yourself that could help students learn and apply these research strategies more confidently?
Sure. Okay, so that's where I got my PowerPoint. So hold on, let me just grab it really quick. This will be an Andy edit, right? Okay, so here's our Zoom screen. We don't want that.
Andy? Okay.
Hi, Andy. Okay, slideshow, play from start.
Very nice.
Yes. Okay. So I wanted to start with like our landing page. I love your image. So
Thank you.
Here are things that I think of or thought of or developed over time. I usually send an outline to like you guys, like to the faculty of what I'm going to teach and see if it's approved. And then one time a professor actually made a photocopy and passed it along to all the other students. And I never thought about, oh, maybe I should just pass this out to students while we're doing instruction. So I think that has helped when we're talking about any type of like research. We do mostly like PICO in nursing. So I usually have as part of the learning tool in the tool belt, just the outline with me when I'm instructing or teaching or working with students. And it just helps all of us stay on task and target when we're talking about all the different steps needed to feel successful. So it took me a couple of years to realize that. It's like, oh, that was a good idea. I guess I'll do that more often. So thanks to an instructor, that's kind of like something that I just naturally now try to print out. With undergraduates, I usually I'll ask the professor, is this okay? Or do you think this PICO worksheet will work out? I take other people's ideas. So I try to find Creative Commons or maybe something on the internet from another library or library guide that has those example worksheets. So I think this is actually one I used at one time from the Langara College Library. But this is just an example of a worksheet of modeling how to form a PICO question. And it's good to start. Well, actually, I think depending on if you're working with undergrad or graduates, it might be good for both, depending on where they are at. If they're really in early stages, it would be good for both. But I've taught with this with undergrads. We would walk through like, here is our PICO. Here's what we're thinking about researching. Let's try to put it in a PICO format of a question. And then that kind of hopefully makes more sense when we have it all dissected to then get started and finding our keywords for each part of the PICO question. It hopefully is conceptualized that way. This was something very recent. This was a worksheet that I actually passed out at a DMP class recently. And no, the PICO question I learned is really not, first of all, I don't know. Oh, I must have cut that off in the screenshot. It's not a PICO question that our nursing students would actually answer. So I'll be more cognizant next time of making sure that it is a question that they're more apt to answer in real life once they get started. But I said, no matter what, because we were talking about asthma as our topic, don't mind the PICO question. We're just going through the process, so you'll have a really good PICO question with your professor, they'll vet it, but it's still the same process, no matter what type of PICO you're confronted with. So this was forcing us to stop during instruction. We dissected the PICO and decided we knew there was two parts of the population. We dissected it as much as we could to say, okay, we have children as one part, and then they have to have asthma. We dissected it to that extent so we could then go into CINAHL and find our keywords. CINAHL auto-generates keywords for us. So I always tell them, use your brain to find your keywords, but also take advantage of CINAHL and write down all the auto-generated keywords, because it makes sense, right? Yeah. And then, so then during this instruction, then we have, after they filled out a little bit of their keywords for each part, I just want them to know how cumbersome the process is. It's not exciting. It's not thrilling or fancy, but it's necessary. Then we go in and I will model to them, this is how I would find my subject headings, either through browsing through the records, and this is how you just find them. And I show them exactly what button to click on to search for their subject headings in CINAHL. And then we go through the same process in PubMed and pulling out, this is where I would start finding my subject headings for PubMed searching. It's different than CINAHL. Their subject headings are called mesh. So we talk about finding mesh terms. So this is an example of a worksheet that they would fill out or be forced to fill out before they even start searching. And I told them, if you're searching like 100 different times, you'll be so thankful to have every strategy there. And then record or document your favorite strategy that, you know, gives you the best results, the most succinct results that seem to answer your question most succinctly, and you know about the highest level of evidence too, of finding, you know, higher level evidence when you're coming across some of this literature. So yeah, so it's nothing, it's just something I made in Word. It's not, you know, it's just very simple, but it seemed impactful for the last instruction class. Sometimes an instructor might want it to be more gamified or hands-on. So I did recently make task cards for going through the PICO process too. The same thing, start with your worksheet, find your keywords, just presented in a different way. We didn't get through all of the task cards, so it just became kind of like a take-home assignment. Like I was able to share the link in Canva. They can have it and they can consult it whenever they need it. Whenever they truly start the PICO question, they can go back and sort of review the task cards. But it was introduced in class.
I've used that PICO, that
Oh,
sheet
cool.
that you just shared.
Worksheet. Oh yeah. Yeah,
Good.
very helpful.
Yeah, the other thing that, you know, we do is we have library guides. You know, we make library guides when instructors ask for them. Our nutrition faculty wanted an AMA guide, so that is a new library guide as a resource. I know it's not strictly PICO, but you know, for citing if you do AMA. I recently published a types and levels of evidence guide for nutrition, but it's really good for any health field, because when you're doing PICO research, you also have to consider the level of evidence and type of research. So this guide that's published would sort of walk you through the examples of primary and secondary research, and what was it that they wanted? Primary and secondary review articles and primary research articles is what they wanted to differentiate for the students so that they understood the differences. And then of course, we sometimes are asked to make videos. Sometimes it just becomes a one-off to throw into an instructor's course, and other times it might be really short and succinct that Lauren Newton, our boss, might put on the tutorial list. So we have several that might be helpful to point to. So, and I've done PowerPoints, I've done everything. I just always try to gauge if it's helpful or not. And sometimes I feel like, okay, I don't know if it takes a couple instruction sessions, and maybe sometimes I think they're great. And other times I'm like, I need to try something else. I don't think it's as good as what I thought. And I've also just done quick sheet handouts. I'm very thankful for Canva. Canva makes everything easy and pretty. So, you know, a lot of that has been created through that. So those are the things that I've worked on recently. And I know you guys are also very busy doing great things too. So this is just one person in the conversation that you interviewed. It's great that we're all creating things and making things for them.
Absolutely. All right. So
Thank you, Sarah. That was great. So how can we get a hold of those tutorial videos?
Oh,
I hadn't seen them.
yeah. Well, okay. There was one tutorial video that I forgot I made that I just made for an instructor, and I can dig it out for you. It was just.
Did you just record it for? Was it like a 3-minute video? Is it?
Well,
just
this was
the way
a
you
no, this was
recorded
long.
the class?
Yeah, it was for a class, but the 3-minute was the ones that are most useful are on the tutorial lib guide. And it's something like called like finding resources for my major. And it was for the health databases, because you know that was a common question, was how do I find my library health databases? So that one points to that. But
well, I know in my public health classes, they start they call them buckets, like they find their little buckets for their keywords for their topics, but it's very, very beginner. But I think what the resources you just showed are great for everyone, for them to be looking at, So if we had some little videos under our help videos, that would be great.
I think we need more. So maybe that could be a conversation with
We need more.
Yeah.
with our head boss about
Yeah. We have to talk to the head of instruction.
Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Sarah. We appreciate all the information and the knowledge that you shared. And for our listeners, we'll include links to the resources that Sarah mentioned in the episode notes. So be sure to check those out. So thank you again, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for having
Sarah.
me. Thank you. Take care.
Okay, what are we talking about next time?
All right. So, well, firstly, thank you to Sarah for taking the time to sit down with us.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for your expertise. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to her or reach out to the library, and we'll make sure that you get connected to her. And in the next episode, we're actually going to be talking about nursing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, you can get in contact with any of the librarians if you need to do the higher level research skills. You can just go email libinstruction@unf.edu, and one of us will get you. Or you can schedule an instruction request.
Yes. So thank you for joining us for another episode of the Instruction Request Podcast. If you would like any help or if you need assistance, you can always schedule a research consultation, or you can schedule an instruction request.